For centuries, people around the world have been fascinated by a mysterious linen cloth known as the Shroud of Turin. This cloth appears to bear the faint image of a man who has been crucified. Many believe this could be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, while others think it may be a clever medieval forgery. Despite all the research, the true origin and nature of the image on the shroud remain one of history's greatest mysteries. Let's begin by looking at the history of the shroud. The Shroud of Turin is a piece of linen cloth measuring about 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide. It first appeared in recorded history in the 14th century in France. A French knight named Geoffroy de Charny reportedly displayed it in a church in Lire around the year 1354. Where it came from before that is still debated. There are no clear records, and some believe it was kept hidden for centuries. Some researchers believe the cloth existed well before the 14th century. There are mentions of burial cloths of Jesus in the Bible, particularly in the Gospels, but there is no direct mention of the shroud itself. Some point to ancient manuscripts, coins, and artwork that might depict an image similar to the one on the shroud. These ideas suggest the shroud may have had a longer history, but the evidence is inconclusive. Historians continue to search for records or physical clues to bridge the gap in its timeline. In 1578, the shroud was moved to Turin, Italy, to make it more accessible to pilgrims. Since then, it has remained in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin. Over the centuries, it has been cared for by royal families, the Catholic Church, and preservation experts. It has survived several fires, including one in 1532 that damaged part of the cloth and left visible burn marks. Patches were sewn onto the damaged areas, and a backing cloth was added to support it. Despite these challenges, the shroud remains one of the most studied and debated religious artifacts in the world. Its journey through time reflects both the devotion of believers and the curiosity of scientists. Now let's explore the image itself. The image on the shroud shows the front and back of a man's body, seemingly laid out after death. The figure appears to have wounds that match those described in the crucifixion of Jesus, marks on the wrists and feet, a wound in the side, and what may be blood from a crown of thorns. The face shows signs of injury, and the body appears to have been scourged, consistent with Roman practices of the time. What makes the image so mysterious is how it was formed. There is no sign of paint, dye, or brushstrokes. Experts have examined the cloth under microscopes and other scientific tools, yet they haven't found any pigments or substances that would explain the image. The coloration appears to come from a slight change in the topmost fibers of the cloth, with no deeper penetration into the threads. It's as if the image was scorched onto the surface in a way that science has yet to replicate. One of the most puzzling features is the faintness of the image. It is not clearly visible up close, but becomes more noticeable from a distance. In 1898, an amateur photographer named Secondo Pia took the first photograph of the shroud. When he developed the negative, he was shocked to see that the image looked like a positive photo, revealing a clear and detailed face. This discovery amazed people and sparked even more interest. Since then, photography and digital analysis have continued to enhance the visibility of the image. Another strange aspect is the image's three-dimensional quality. Computer analysis has shown that the image on the shroud contains depth information, meaning it's not just a flat image. Software designed to convert brightness into height has produced 3D representations of the face and body that suggest the image is encoded with spatial information. This is something traditional artwork or photography cannot replicate. So how did the image get there? There are several theories. Some believe it is the result of a miraculous event, that the image was imprinted on the cloth during Jesus' resurrection in a burst of radiant energy. Others suggest natural chemical reactions occurred between the linen and a body, possibly involving gases emitted during decomposition. A third group proposes it was created by a clever artist in the 1300s using techniques we still don't understand today. Now let's look at the science. Over the years, many scientific tests have been done on the shroud. In 1978, a group of American scientists from the Shroud of Turin Research Project, STURP, conducted a detailed study. They examined the cloth using various methods including spectroscopy, X-rays, and chemical analysis. They concluded that the image was not made with paint, dye, or any known artistic method. However, they could not determine how the image was made. In 1988, 3 laboratories, in Oxford, Zurich, and Tucson, performed carbon dating tests on small samples of the cloth. The results suggested the cloth dated back to between 1260 and 1390 AD. This led many to believe the shroud was a medieval creation, not from the time of Jesus. However, this conclusion has been hotly debated. Critics argue that the tested samples were taken from a corner of the cloth that had been repaired after the 1532 fire. They believe this portion of the cloth might not represent the age of the entire shroud. Additionally, centuries of exposure, handling, and contamination could have skewed the results. More recent studies have questioned the reliability of the carbon dating and have called for new, more accurate tests. Beyond carbon dating, scientists have studied the shroud's fibers, bloodstains, and even pollen grains. Blood tests suggest the presence of real human blood, type AB, although this too is debated. Pollen grains found on the shroud come from plants that grow in the Middle East, including around Jerusalem. Some researchers see this as strong support for the cloth's origins in that region. Another interesting find was the presence of limestone particles on the cloth. These particles match the kind found in tombs near Jerusalem, adding to the argument that the shroud may have been used in that area. Still, none of these findings are definitive, and every new discovery seems to raise more questions. The shroud also holds deep meaning for many people. For Christians, especially Roman Catholics, the shroud is a powerful symbol of Jesus' suffering, death, and resurrection. It is a reminder of the Passion of Christ, inspiring faith, reflection, and devotion. Pilgrims travel great distances just to view it when it is publicly displayed. Throughout history, the shroud has inspired art, literature, and religious devotion. Artists have used the image on the shroud as a model for depictions of Jesus, especially his face. Writers and filmmakers have drawn on its mystery in stories, documentaries, and movies. The shroud appears in religious icons, church decorations, and personal keepsakes. Whether people believe it is real or not, its impact on culture and religion is undeniable. But the shroud is not without controversy. Some debate who should own it, how it should be displayed, and whether it should be used in religious ceremonies. Others worry about how it is preserved and whether further testing might damage it. The Vatican currently owns the shroud and has allowed scientific study under careful conditions. Balancing scientific curiosity with religious respect remains a challenge. Ethical concerns also arise about displaying the shroud. Some believe it should be shown often to inspire faith, while others think its sacred nature means it should be kept out of public view. There is also debate about digital reproductions and the commercialization of the shroud's image. Today, the Shroud of Turin is kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. It is stored in a special climate-controlled case to protect it from light, humidity, and pollution. Public exhibitions are rare and carefully planned, usually attracting large crowds from around the world. The last major public display was in 2015. Researchers continue to study the shroud using modern technology. Imaging, digital enhancement, and non-invasive scanning techniques have allowed scientists to learn more without damaging the cloth. Some hope that future technologies like DNA analysis or advanced materials testing will provide new insights. The debate about the shroud's authenticity is far from over. Some scholars and scientists believe new testing might reveal the truth. Others argue that the mystery is part of what makes the shroud so powerful. For them, the unanswered questions add to its spiritual significance and allow people to connect with it on a personal level. In the end, the Shroud of Turin remains a powerful and puzzling symbol. Whether it is a miracle, a mystery, or a masterpiece, it continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. Its story is one of faith, science, and the deep human desire to connect with the past and understand the unknown. Even after centuries of study, the shroud refuses to give up all its secrets. Perhaps that is why it still matters so much today.